Exciting news, our friends over at Manscaped have just launched their 4th generation performance package, and that includes the Lawnmower 4.0. 4.0? That's right, the Lawnmower 4.0, which includes a 7,000 RPM motor to take care of your spuds when you need it most. Make sure you join 2 million men who trust Manscaped, and you can do that by going to manscaped.com and getting 20% off and free shipping using the code Paddock20. We've all had it where you're trying to trim downstairs, you've got a big date coming up, it's your Valentine's, it's the anniversary, you need to look spick and span down there. But what happens? You end up using your mum's hair scissors, you end up trying to do something weird, getting a blowtorch out of the shed, using an axe that your dad uses to chop wood for the fire. None of that's going to work. You're going to cut yourself, you're going to nick yourself. We've all been there, using the scissors to try and go around your balls like some sort of weird stencil. It's not going to work. You're going to nick them, and you're going to really regret ever trying to make it a DIY job. That's where Manscaped comes in. Look at this. This, quite simply put, is the greatest device in trimming your pubes that has ever existed. It's a Lawnmower 4.0. It's got a 7,000 RPM motor, and the best thing about it is the anti-nick technology. You can see that there. Anti-nick technology, right? What that means is that you're not going to catch your spuds when you're trying to clean up in your trousers. Make sure you check out Manscaped. Again, it's not just this. They've got this, the crop reviver. This is what you put on. You're going straight out after work. It's in your work bag. Let me just nip to the toilet. Let me just freshen up. You got this bad boy, the crop preserver, straight out of the shower, pop it on. Deodorant for under the arms, crop preserver for under the garms. You know what I mean? You know it is. And one of the best things about the Lawnmower 4.0 is that it's waterproof. So you can do it in the shower, you can do it over the sink, you can do it at a public pool if you really want to. You might get kicked out, but you can do it there. That's the thing. Shave your pubes out in the rain if you want to. If that's what your thing is, you've got some weird fetish where you get in your truck, you drive out to a hillside, get in the flatbed, wait for it to rain, trim your pubes. This thing isn't going to electrocute you, and you're fine to do that because that's your property. Or just do it in the shower like I do. It's fantastic, easy clear up, and you don't have to worry about it breaking. And not just does that mean, yes, I can do it in the shower, it also means it's easy to clean because you get in there, sometimes you get in there, you get your little brush, trying to do it, trying to blow on it, get your little pubes out. No one wants that. Run it under the tap, it's clean, perfect to be stored away. So, you know what, your mum don't find it or your missus don't find it. Or she might use it, to be honest. So, make sure you check out manscaped.com. Again, use the code Paddock20 at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. Thank you once again to Manscaped for sponsoring the podcast. Back to the show, lads.
Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome to Stretford Paddock. I am Adam McKola. This is McKola and Lars Uncensored, as you can see right there.
Yeah,
my mate
another
Lars.
great show. Good to see you guys. How you doing? This is my first time on the channel.
Lars?
Good.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Under
It might
this generation, it is.
It might be under the word Stretford Paddock, although
Correct.
we've done reviews in the kickoff studio before, and you've popped your head in, or you've been in them.
Right.
So,
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, this has me really been invited, so I feel like I finally made it now.
yeah, this is a proper invite rather than. You want to jump in this video?
Oh, yeah. People hate you at United, so you'd be great in this video.
I get a lot, like when I'm out and about, I get a lot of people coming up talking about you and Brian a lot. It used to be Andy Tate, but I get a lot of, like yesterday at the game, it was, tell Brian this, and tell Lars, and Boovy's this, and it's like,
It makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does, especially at
Loads
Old
of people
Trafford.
ask me what you're like in real life, and also whether we get on, which I find really weird because people just don't see. Like that's what I think people don't see. Like our cameras are quite tight on the show, so if we're sitting there and I'm like, oh yeah, and then they cut to you and you're like, hey, around, going all over the place, and then they cut back to me and I'm like, oh yeah, good point, yeah, okay, great. You don't see the bits in between.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. A lot of people don't see the interactions in between or the little things on the side, and they also don't realize that like we could go from 0 to 100 in real quick, and also it's just debate or whatever. Like I find myself I have to reply to comments sometimes. Like I saw one yesterday and they were like, Adam, no, what it was I think it says Adam proper hates Boovy or something like that. I was like, come on, he's a massive wind-up merchant, and he does get on my nerves. but I don't hate the guy. Like, if I hated the guy, I'd probably be like, I ain't been on shows with him anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Genuinely, like, that is the difference. I think most people don't realize that if you appear on a show with someone, you tend to like them, because a lot of other people who you don't like, you just go, nah, let's not do a video together.
Yeah. So
that's
the
reality.
I find that mental. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it is a bit weird.
We're here today. The whole premise of this show is basically we start off with a topic and then see where we go over the next half an hour. And the topic I wanted to start with actually was Paul Scholes, because yesterday during the game, and yesterday means Atalanta, Manchester United at Old Trafford, at halftime, 2-0 down. I'm dreading life. I'm dreading being on the kickoff. I'm dreading everything right now because it was bad times. And United obviously turned it around, but Paul Scholes made a telling statement after the game. He said Jurgen Klopp would be sitting there rubbing his hands together watching this.
I was watching that, yeah. What
did you make of his comments after the game?
You know what? It's not only after the game, it was mid-game. I think he actually, on the analysis, said something like, I can expect a United win now, or like expect a United revival. And I think it's quite telling that in the middle of a disaster sometimes, or in the middle of what feels like a storm, there's someone who can tell exactly what's going to happen. And they tend to be someone who's been fairly accurate and someone who's had a lot of experience in that field. So Paul Scholes is pretty good at that. He also used some quite big words last night that I didn't expect Paul Scholes to use. I'm not being bad, but when he uses big words, I'm like, you know, big words. That's weird. I didn't expect that. But he does, and he's clearly a smart guy. But then when he said Jurgen Klopp's rubbing his hands together, I was like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if United want to attack Liverpool, Liverpool love that. And if United aren't aggressive against Liverpool like they weren't in the first half, Liverpool love that. So the two halves that United played, either you're going to go punch for punch with us and we're going to go, okay, give it a try, like they did with Brentford or like they did with Atalanta and people like that, or you go, who are going to be a really sort of passive side who let people into the box either side, and Mo Salah, Firmino, or whoever is going to pop in at the far post or in front of Maguire, in front of Lindelof, and, you know, pop it in. So I think he's right, to be honest. I think you will perform like that though on the weekend, because I don't think you will perform like that on the weekend.
Yeah, I was obviously in the immediate aftermath of a game. You're always just delighted, like another amazing night at Old Trafford. But I agreed with him, and I didn't like. I saw him getting a little bit of stick online, and I thought, I think that's unfair, because half time we were all feeling the same way, and even then, like, I don't think. Look, it was a great win and a big win for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He really needs it right now, and I'm buzzing for him more than anyone. But like, it didn't change those doubts. Like, we saw the best and worst of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's Manchester United, like, encapsulated in that game. The first half, we looked slow, lethargic. We weren't pressing. We weren't getting onto anything. Second half, we're on the front foot. We're in people's faces. We're winning the ball early, and we're creating chances. And it was just
so I get that, right? But and I feel like at the moment it's sort of in United fans' interest to keep the conversation there, if that makes sense, because it's a much more comfortable place to be, and it sort of allows for people to go. And I don't mean this in like an aggressive way, because I actually think Liverpool fans are equally just as bad at sort of neutralizing conversations rather than sort of talking about the reality of it. The reality for me is United can't play the way they did in the second half for the whole season.
Oh, it's not sustainable. No.
It's not sustainable. And they can't, and they won't play the way that they did in the first half for the whole season, because they just won't.
Yeah.
But when you look at it,
sustainable.
There is still not the identity. That's not an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer identity that they played with in the second half either. That is the players going, right, we're going to grit in here and we're going to win this game by these means. And there were lots of moments, again, of individual brilliance, or moments of like, that's not the system working there. That's a great pass around the corner that I don't understand why why that isn't always happening, or why that's not happening more. And I'm not saying therefore there is no system, but it worried. I was trying to think when I went to go grab this coffee, and I was like, what can I say to Adam that I want to get your opinion on? And my question is this: in this time, I think that what really represents what's going on at United is the knee-jerk reactions. It is in the first half, we're terrible. In the first half, we're awful. In the second half, we're amazing. Because I know that when Manchester United are at their best, they're stable, win, lose, or draw, you tend to go, yeah, okay, we'll see where it goes. And that's what you were like under Sir Alex. You were so neutral. And I mean, like, you were loving it, but you were so much, like, every United fan was so calm. So every time I tried to get under their skin under the Sir Alex Ferguson era, people would just go, we'll see, Sir Alex has got it. Or we'll see, this team's really good. Or we'll see. And I could say that with Jurgen Klopp 2 seasons ago. If Liverpool lost, I'd just go, 25-game win streak over, or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? And I go, next week we'll win. In my head, I'm like, I don't mind. So no one can rock me. But it shows when a team is, when you can get under someone's skin in 2 seconds just by going, Ole is this, or Ronaldo saved you again, or whatever it is.
No, I don't think that result particularly proved anything that we don't know. Look, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is being judged this season on whether he challenges for the big trophies and whether he wins the league or not. And look, you could end this season with him not winning the league and him still keeping his job because he's the right man if we were to challenge for it and, let's say, not win it. But the problem is that is something that we would expect from an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer side, maybe. We'll expect to see that again at some point. And we see that far too often.
Right,
and there doesn't seem to be anything where it's like you say there, like whether it's good or bad, whether it's win, lose or draw, whether the team's in form or not, there seems to be some things that teams constantly do or an image of that team. And I don't think there is one of us at this moment in time, especially in, like, I think before this season with the team that when we had Martial, Rashford, Bruno, etc. I think you could kind of draw a picture of what their best goal would look like because you kind of knew how they would play.
You can see each of them with the ball. Right, yeah, exactly.
Like but right now, he doesn't know his best 11. Like,
do you know your best 11?
I think I know it, but then it changes.
So why doesn't
it? It's just, and that's because we don't have if you have a settled system, you have a settled 11. You know, he's going to play there, he's going to play there, he's going to play there, but we don't have that. And it's just, look, that comes down to the manager ultimately. Like, can
I ask you though, does it? Because, pre-season, before you got Ronaldo, I was more worried about United than when you got Ronaldo. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of the same way. Look, Ronaldo's incredible, and I'm glad to see him back.
I don't mean it like that, but
when City were going to get him, I remember going in the kickoff group like, this could change the way they play a little bit, and that might play into teams' hands a little bit, because you then have, if you stop that, you almost stop the team. Whereas with City or before, it's like you've got to stop this whole system, and it's difficult to do that. You can do it, but it's difficult to do it. And then with Ronaldo, it's if you can stop Ronaldo, you might stop the team. I kind of see that.
Then to add to that, I was more worried about Mason Greenwood, Jadon Sancho, Rashford than I am, and I get it. Ronaldo will probably score against Liverpool on the weekend, and I know that it feels inevitable almost that he will, because just for old time's sake, I mean, I'd almost like it. It's like watching The Sopranos. You want to see someone get whacked sometimes. Do you know what I mean? You want to see some of your favorite characters, something terrible happen to them. Just to feel
poorly.
Something. Not poorly though, no. And you don't want it to be like Junior shooting anyone really, but when he's got the gun and he shoots Tony, but not like that. So I don't want to see Jurgen die, but sometimes you do want to see some of your old enemies come back and you're like, this is going to be juicy. But the point is, I felt more worried about your young front three and what that would do over 3-4 seasons. And I almost feel like it's a bit like I get it, Ronaldo's great, but getting him back feels like it stopped a plan that Ole had that was, right, these guys are going to be that three and we're going to build on that, and that'll go.
Yeah, I think he also thought that, but then I also would have thought he maybe gone, this is also like a cheat code. Like, Ronaldo could be the difference.
Is it?
That's the way I think the manager looks at it, and I think the club look at it in different ways. It's an interesting one because do you sacrifice that potentially, and where would that take us? Or, second last season or whatever. Could you just sacrifice that potentially for a player that could come in and single-handedly win you a trophy or make that difference? Is Ronaldo still that guy?
Are you going to do that?
Is Ronaldo still that guy though? Like, that's the question as well. Is he still that guy? One of the things that did give me confidence of it working, against Atalanta was with Rashford. There seems to be a dynamic between Rashford and Ronaldo where that could work and something could blossom between them, because there was times where they were switching positions and Ronaldo was putting out to the left, Rashford was stretching his legs and running into the middle, where I was thinking something could work here. I don't know what it is, but something could potentially work. You got Ronaldo who could drift out wide. He needs to change his game, And I tell you who needs to be a part of that, Jadon Sancho, because he's the only one that gives us natural width. He's the only one that's an actual winger. He's the only one. Like, how many times I say to you last year, like, I'm sick of seeing Rashford and Greenwood just get greedy and just not pass to someone. And I think Rashford's a little bit better in terms of passing, but nevertheless, he can run down some alleys. Like, Sancho's the guy. And there were times yesterday where Greenwood tried to slip the ball through for Ronaldo, overhit, and little things like that. And it's
so often as well.
Sancho don't get that wrong. And I know people say he's got no goals, no assists and all that, but Sancho don't get that wrong.
We know what Sancho's sitting on there, don't we? Like, we know his potential. And I get that. Sometimes I do. There was that chart the other week where they compared players entering the Premier League from the Bundesliga and players entering the Premier League from the Championship. And they said there was very little difference between the two of them. And a lot of people using that to beat Jadon Sancho because they were like, well, he's no better than a Championship player. I was a bit like, it's not really true, is it?
Or is the Championship just really good?
Or that was also part of it. I mean, I don't think everyone in the Championship's like Jadon Sancho, but I do think there is some truth in that, right? But what I mean by that is, like, I still feel like he's basically just sitting on getting ready to explode. But I still feel like the arrival of Ronaldo was a bit like, okay, well, keep that on ice for 6 months.
But that's the one that baffles me, though, because if you got Ronaldo in the middle, you need Jadon Sancho.
Sancho should be perfect, yeah.
Does
that not take away then from what Sancho actually does, which is sometimes to be the person who's leading that? Ronaldo's the leader, and Sancho is a different kind of provider.
I don't think he should be leading it, Sancho. I think he should be that creative force and that provider. Because I just think his abilities aren't like, and we've got other players like Bruno's the hero, Ronaldo's the hero, Rashford. I just think we needed a steady force, a creator. And I think if we started Sancho consistently, he gets so many assists in his team because he's so good. Like, I don't get the criticism of him, and people jump. Well,
is it really criticism?
It's the internet. Do you know what I mean? It's like 10 games, no goals, no assists. It's time to have a conversation. It's like, is it though? Really? Like, it's really. Not time to have a conversation.
Do you think I also think sometimes, because I know of United as a team in crisis, I feel like people just get like their crisis cookie cutters out and go, which one of these fits Manchester United right now? Is it the star? No. Is it the circle? No. Is it the Christmas tree? Oh, it might be the Christmas tree. And they just like work out which disaster they can put on whichever story it is. So if it's Ronaldo, it's not like Ronaldo's returned. It's like another tricky time for Ole to fit someone into the team. Oh, Sancho's not playing. It's because Sancho he's the man. He should have been. Okay, well, Rashford's not performing because Rashford's that young guy who's got potential, but he's never going to fulfill it. Well, it's Bruno. Bruno's the frustrated genius. Maguire, not worth as much as Varane, past his best. People have always there's a problem for every player in the team. And
why did I just picture Bruno as Kanye West when you said that?
I'll be honest, I think that's disgusting and unfair on Kanye. Like, it's racial stereotyping. That's racial stereotyping. Like.
Wait, what?
No, definitely. But you get what I mean. Like, people are always basically, there's loads of lazy articles, there's loads of lazy tweets of people just being like, yeah, there's definitely a problem, and here are the 10 problems that I've come up with because my keenly analytical mind has watched Match of the Day for 10 minutes and gone, they're not very good.
Yeah.
Just doesn't work. It's boring. Having said that, you guys are going to have to perform really well on the weekend. Just put it that way.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that game in a minute. But first, I wanted to ask you a question that popped into my head. How good do you consider Marcus Rashford to be?
On a Manchester United video, you're okay.
No, because like Marcus
Rashford
really
good, mate.
is someone that's really often spoken about. And I know you're someone that like you enjoy sports outside of football. So I think when you do that, you kind of appreciate people's journeys and people's kind of like stories and, you know, everything else around it. And I think Marcus
see it a bit further out.
Yeah, like he's someone that can polarize opinion, but I think it's clear the guy's a superstar. Do you know what I mean? Some people say
what do you think polarizes opinion about him? Sorry. What do you think polarizes opinion about Marcus Rashford?
I think some people genuinely question whether he's good enough or not. I think some people question the stuff about his PR and all this stuff. Like I love it what he does off the pitch, but on the pitch, like people is not often his football's talked about these days, or if it is, it's usually being ridiculed. I mean, injured for a long time.
And there were a couple of moments last night before the goal where I was a bit like, what's going on here? Like, is it quite clicking? But that's kind of the issue. And I get it. Like we're talking, you know, the weird thing is I relate a lot to Manchester United fans at the moment because I feel like you guys are in a similar position to where Liverpool have been in the past. Last night.
Whereabouts are we?
Well, you're further ahead than Roy Evans, but not as far as Rafa Benitez, if that makes sense. But the thing is, right, I'm not, and Roy Evans maybe should have won a title with Liverpool. Like maybe there was 1 or 2 seasons where you go, Roy, do you know what I mean? You should have won it there, mate. and Roy Evans is a lovely guy. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a lovely guy. Roy Evans was from the past. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was from anyway, there's a lot of comparisons you can draw. But what Liverpool fans did in that time was we put so much stock into players like McManaman, Fowler. I mean, any young player we signed basically. And although Jamie Redknapp was not one of us, if that makes sense, but he was still a young player that Liverpool signed. But Rashford is one of you. So what I mean by that is, in that time, we hyped up people so much and put so much stock into them that really it didn't give the club much choice whether, I mean, to be honest, the two examples I picked are terrible because both of them turned out to be world-class players. But the point with that is, I actually think Marcus Rashford is world-class. I just think he's a little bit underserved by some of the coaching and probably some of the tactical decisions that are made around him. And that it can be sometimes disappointing. And at the same time, I also think because of the amount of love and the amount of expectation that you guys put on him, it does mean that people can easily then knock him down because they go, well, United fans said you're world class. Where's this world class? Where's the Mbappe, moment with you? Where's the blah, blah, blah moment? And it feels like there's a bit of disconnect. And it's the same with Fowler, McManaman, those guys. Every time I go, Fowler and McManaman are amazing. I was at 8 at the time. And people go, yeah, but what have they won? And I'd be like, yeah, but that's not the point. Like, you don't get, and it makes it so easy to knock the argument down, but it doesn't take away from Marcus Rashford. It just takes away from the adults, the journalists, and the people on Twitter who back him. Like, Marcus Rashford still remains, whether you like him, whether I like it. Like, it doesn't make any difference essentially to his quality. Does that make sense? I think he's world class.
He's a special player. Yeah, I think he's a special player. World class. Yeah, well, you said it. You know what I mean? I think he probably is. No, I think he probably is. I just don't think I've ever said it out loud.
Say it with me.
Which is no, but it's true. But
Say it with me.
You're probably right. Like, how many players would you put ahead of him in his position? I don't think it's like a handful.
Are there many players that play in this position?
Well, he plays on the left. He's a left forward. Who would you consider? I'm not saying he's the best, like, but he's up there. Do you know what I mean?
So ahead of him,
around top 5.
Yeah. Although when you start getting to the end of that top 5, you do start to go, who else? So you're basically going Mane, he's left forward. You're going Mbappe, Vinicius, in terms of like your top teams, and then you've got like probably anyone who plays on the left for Bayern, and then you've got a load of like young guys.
He's up there.
Maybe a Barcelona player. Like, I get what you're saying. I guess I'm just a bit like. Also, you know what I also think? Does it really matter if he's world class or not? Really, the problem is for you guys right now is not individuals. It's actually your system. And really, having a conversation about an individual within a system that doesn't exist is almost a pointless exercise. And that's what Liverpool used to do. Is it used to be like it's the players that are the problem? No.
I don't think I used to think you could say that under Ali. I don't think you can say that anymore. I used to think there's been a lot of times where the progression's been enough for you to say, yeah, but he needs X, Y, or Z. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we had X, then we'd be a little bit better. And
why would happen?
With that little bit of improvement, we'd be there. Because we've gone from there. And so I think it's always been easy to kind of do that, and until this season where you go, well, hold on, we know we need a midfielder, but how does that explain this general
whatever the hell around it?
Yeah. Like, how does it? So I think those excuses are gone now, and that's why the expectations there is like at the start of the season. Is that not
potential? Like, you can't, like, your potential now, you have to fulfill it.
Oh yeah, 100. Wow, of this squad, yes.
Yes.
There's players in it that are no longer a potential, but we have to fulfill that within the squad. Anyway,
how important? Sorry, can I just ask you one last question?
Go on.
How important are your centre backs, and how important is it that Varane's out? Because it does not seem great.
This feels like a loaded question.
No, I'm being serious because last season maybe Liverpool are over. Like, if you look at basically Liverpool have got 2 world-class centre backs as distributors. Virgil van Dijk is basically a quarterback. And Matip is someone who's got a lot in his locker in terms of he can run the ball out, or, he's got a pass one way to most of the time to Trent or to Hendo. And then the other way he's got Virgil van Dijk, or he can even surpass him and just go straight to Andy Robertson. So it makes him look good, but he is a good passer of the ball, right? But that is so important to Liverpool's system. And I feel like sometimes I watch without Varane, and I don't mean defensively, I mean offensively. Sometimes it can take away a little bit from them.
Oh, mate, there's all sorts of things that go wrong between. And it's hard to put my finger on who's to blame. Because I think Lindelof's really good, apart from physically. Like, we saw, it the striker yesterday absolutely turn him, and you think, oh my God, what's going on there?
Yeah.
But in general, I think he's pretty good. You look at some of the distribution of the ball with his feet and the positions that he takes up.
Exactly.
But then you put Maguire next to him sometimes, and like, there was at one point where who had the ball? I think Lindelof had the ball, and Maguire was right behind him or right in front of him, and he was like, "You lot should never be in that position ever." Like, how has that happened? And then we were also defending a corner in the last minute. So it might be easy to find for people if you want to go check this out. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka, our right back, was like in the middle of the goal outside the 18-yard box, watching what was going on in the box. And I was thinking,
you're right, man.
Bruv, I'm nervous here, and you're one of the people that's supposed to be in the box dealing with this. Like, what are you like? So there's things like that I see. And one of the things that worries me with Ali is, and look, it might just be him in press conferences, and I never know how much value to put on things that managers say in press conferences, because they're like politicians, they protect their players, or some of them do, and they try and
fans.
But sometimes when he speaks about transitions of play, and when he speaks about midfielders, I go, oh, Like,
that word you keep using, Ollie.
Like,
it's not the way it works.
Because he spoke about them at one point, and he was really like arrogant about. I can't remember the quote it was. It was just like, "Oh wow, yeah, that's just all nonsense." Like, you know, and it's like, whoa, no, this isn't nonsense. Like, we do need to, because everybody else is thinking about these things, and that did worry me, and it made me think, oh, like, there's a little bit of naivety in there, but that again could just be him in the press saying, like, he's like questioning me, just here's stupid quote.
Do you know the weird thing about it is, like, if you watch NFL or the NBA or whatever, and I know how often I say that, like, the coaches openly talk about their tactics because they know the opposition coach isn't going, go on, okay, yeah. So you're going to play Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back, okay. Like, these guys analyze everything about the other team. So Jurgen Klopp will know everywhere that Aaron Wan-Bissaka will want to go tomorrow. He'll know how deep he's going to be enough, and Mane's going to know exactly what he needs to do for that. Like, as a coach, I feel like sometimes the coaches in England can just be a lot more honest or a lot more open about what they're doing, instead of just going transitions of play.
Well, I think the press is fault.
Deep lying.
I genuinely think that's the press fault, because they got most of these journalists that go in there, and I think it is starting to change a little bit. Like, you do see some good questions from some journalists these days, but 90% of the questions are like, I remember when Mourinho was there, he was like, so Pogba, eh? And it's like,
yeah,
just
like,
ask him about tactics, ask him about just ask him about like, get a football question in there. And like, I remember I think it was Hassan who there was a video of I think it was Carl Anka asking him a question about some sort of tactical thing, and his eyes lit up and he was like, yo, like, let's have a chat. And it's like, sometimes I want to hear something different.
That's what I like about Rafa. That's what I like.
If the press asked more, then managers have to be prepared more for that. Do you know what I mean? And the dialogue starts to become more open.
No, and also they know they can trust someone with it, or that they're not just completely wasting their time. Because you know Chris Henage, the guy he used to be a journalist in the Northeast. He now works for MyCFC, but he used to tell me how basically he'd go in press conferences and talk to either it might not have been Steve Bruce, it might have been Rafa at Newcastle. And if he asked a tactical question, the other journalist would be like, mate, what are you doing? I need a quote for the weekend. Like, I don't need you to ask him what he's playing 3 in midfield for. Like, that's not going into my article. And everyone would be like, come on, mate. Like, and I get it, but mate, you've got your quote, or you've got 5 like stupid words you can rub together to make an article.
We need a headline is basically there.
Yeah, we need a headline. And him going deep lying midfielder needs to play a bit further forward doesn't make a headline. So, but to make something up like you normally do, that's what I don't get. Just make something up. Come on, you work for the Sun.
If people were asking managers, I also think it builds like it builds a story. Do you know what I mean? And it becomes part of the story. Like, and I do. You're obviously someone that loves American sports. I think in terms of the tactical side of things and all that, I think they are progressing ahead. And who knows if that influence of things, if football doesn't, well, I say that because not everyone's the British press, and most 99% of people within football have already started using all these things. But like, you know, other sports, people that do prefer the stat-based side of things, they'll probably start elevating themselves. You look at the Americans in terms of soccer, football. Like, if they start developing that model over and over again as the years go by, who knows where they're at in the future. So, yeah, it's mad. Kind of mad. It's mad.
Also, it's crazy because I think in America now stats are so common that when I listen to a podcast, like I was listening to a podcast the other day and this guy was like, yeah, like we're not really stats people. And then he dropped about 5 lines of stats. And I was like, you do know those numbers that you're using are stats, right? But I feel like they're so normal over there. They don't even think about that. They just go, yeah, he had a, 20, 10 and 5 or whatever, or, a triple double. And you're just like, so sorry, what? Why? Wait, where did that come from? In England, that just doesn't happen. And there aren't many short hands for what people do. So there won't be like, we'll just go, we have 4 assists and 4 goals, or like 1 goal, 1 assist. And that's like, Well, look into that then. Or like, what does that mean? Is that good? Like, most people know a triple-double in basketball, relatively good. Like, although it's more common now, still pretty good. We don't. When someone goes 1 goal, 1 assist, we go, cool. And there's not much else after that. I'm like, well, we should know. Like, we should know off the top of our heads the average assists and average goals, because most people know that certain basketball players average a triple-double in so many games or whatever. Like, we should know that. And I don't know why it's not. And I'm not saying we should have to look into it. I'm saying it should be like common knowledge in football who the best assister is.
The shows.
Exactly. It should be.
Although
more people should know. It should just trip off the tongue.
Kill it sometimes.
Totally, like Rafa Benitez and Steve Bruce. People with those Steve Bruce is as good as Rafa Benitez things just need to stop.
Like, I remember Dave once, Statman Dave, bloody
Don't get me started.
Coming up to me after a game and Fellaini...
He pointed his finger in your chest.
Yeah, say some words, he said.
Yeah.
And he came up to me after a game and he went, see, I'm pointing because it really pissed me off. And he said, oh no, Fellaini was class today. He had he had the most shots on target from our whole team.
They love Fellaini.
And I was like, bruv, you can't.
I don't know what Dave was.
You can't argue what these guys saw with those numbers.
Yeah, and that's called the eye test. That's called the eye test. And most of the time, most people can't pass an eye test in football. Like, they just can't. And I know Dave used to wear glasses. I think he might wear contacts now. But ultimately, I think Dave was drinking the Kool-Aid back then. I think he does it a little bit less now. He's a bit more realistic.
Yeah, he is. Well, sometimes, depending when you watch him.
Okay.
Or where you watch him.
Dave's
amazing. Love you, Dave, you knob.
Yeah.
What I was going to say before we wrap up, this has been fun.
Liverpool United this weekend.
Just a couple of predictions for the weekend. Remember where you are?
Is Maguire gonna play against Salah the way he did last night, or is that?
Think of the second half. Aren't you scared?
No, because if you go, we'll do that. We go, that's great. There's loads of
It could be like the FA Cup game. Remember when it was like, what was it?
Yeah,
3-2.
I remember the FA Cup game. Yeah, I remember the FA Cup game because I think of FA Cup games often, mate.
No, but it was really. Remember that really open game we had at Old Trafford, like the
but that's the thing is, I feel like that was also when we were.
You had a few injuries.
I see what you're saying. Those games can go either way, though, and that's kind of my point. And I feel like in the Premier League, it won't nearly that open. Exactly. It won't nearly be that open because I think basically Klopp knows he can't really drop points. Like, we can't have another draw against another top side. It just can't be that way. It's got to be a win for Liverpool, really.
And we need to make up some points. Like,
that's kind of the issue.
It's a game where if we won our games, you can go, a draw here is not bad. But if you win here now, you can make up some points. But
Ronaldo's going to have to pull in some different positions, though. If Ronaldo even plays, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like Rashford, Greenwood. What was the game that you started without Ronaldo? Who did you start? Cavani, maybe? Because, the problem is with Ronaldo, sometimes he's a little bit static. And against Virgil van Dijk and Matip, I'm not sure that works. Whereas Cavani, Greenwood, Rashford,
I think he moves a lot more than people give him credit for these days.
Sure,
but against a team that play with the explosiveness and the pace and that Liverpool do, it is actually a good thing. But we've seen him leave him out before. It didn't go to plan for him against Everton. So is he now in a position where he goes,
he doesn't like playing scouts teams?
I can't drop him now because last time I did that, we dropped points.
He did score the game winner as well. Does that make it difficult? No, it's not. You can't really judge it. I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer goes, you scored the game winner. Stay in the team, son. Because he probably doesn't call him son. Because he's about 10 years younger.
I wouldn't be surprised if both of those things happen.
Probably.
He calls him son.
Mainly because he knows Sir Alex probably does. And he goes, Sir Alex did it. I will do it. Like, do you think... You've got to admit, though, there's not many matchups where it goes particularly well. And Gary Neville's mixed or combined 11 was a little bit...
I hate combined 11s. My combined 11's got 11 United players.
My combined 11 might actually have a couple of United players in it. I'm just trying to think. And maybe it's Varane.
Varane definitely gets in, I think.
What, ahead of not Virgil van
Matip,
Dijk, but ahead of Matip or Gomez?
Yeah, so you'd have Varane.
Maybe.
I think Varane and Van Dijk are the best centre halves in the world.
What about who's the better goalkeeper?
Right now, you'd probably go Alisson.
Right now, you think that David De Gea has been?
I genuinely think David De Gea is getting back to his best. So at the end of this season, we could be talking about how David De Gea is back up there with Ederson and Alisson again. But I understand, and I'm aware of where we were in May, June. So I'm not going to get carried away. But I think he's slowly getting back to his best.
Okay.
Which isn't reflected in the goals we've conceded, because we've conceded a lot, but it's not
very close goals as well. Well, I mean, there was a header last night. Did the header sort of go through him? Not really. Went past him. Didn't go through him. And then the other goal.
That was a great header. The defending was poor for that.
Header. The defending was poor for both your goals.
Oh, mate, the defending's poor for all the time.
What I sort of worry about was, for instance, post-game, Maguire gave this interview where he went, we conceded 2 sloppy goals, 2 poor goals, and then we switched on. And I'm a bit like, you should have been, this whole section, shouldn't you have been switched on? Shouldn't you have been on the whole time? You don't go, come on, lads, that's 2. Now we try.
Is this thing on?
Yeah,
Hello?
I was just a bit like, mate, if you don't switch on against Liverpool, which I guarantee they will be switched on, and it'll probably finish 0-0, right? But if you don't switch on against Liverpool, scoring those kind of goals is going to be so simple for Liverpool, so easy. Especially with Mo Salah at the moment, it's kind of mad. I think also, though, people are overstating what Liverpool did against Atletico. The difficulty of beating Atletico Madrid at the Wanda Metropolitana, difficult. But the actual act of it was a penalty, a deflection, and just a goal. Was it really that impressive?
Yeah,
really.
Let's not
as impressive as I think people
into a false sense of security. I get what you're saying, because I watched the goal show, so I saw the goals. I think the goal show is amazing.
You were watching Rory and Loz on Twitch and the goal show on Yeah.
I was watching Rory and Loz on Twitch from 2-1. If that's okay.
Yeah, you're right.
I tuned in at that time. As a spike went up, I went in.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm dreading. Any interesting memories? Okay, we got a couple minutes left. Any interesting memories from Liverpool United games?
You've got as long as you want.
Interesting
memories of the United games.
United Liverpool.
Just to be United. Yeah. Do you know my worst memory ever? I've got good memories and bad memories, but my worst memory ever, the one that sticks with me, which is the worst. What's the one? It might have been in 08-09 where Rio celebrates so much after the goal, and it's a late winner at Anfield, I think it was.
Oh,
or was that earlier?
Yes.
It might have been earlier.
It was
earlier, probably.
08-09 was 3-0 with Ronaldo scoring, right?
No, there's one where you guys score late. Was it Tevez?
Ooh.
Was it Tevez?
No,
it wasn't Tevez. Someone scored late, and it was 1-0 to United. And Rio and the whole team are celebrating, but I remember Rio Ferdinand celebrating, and I remember just being like,
maybe it was Rio that scored.
It might have been, it might have been like
when Gary Neville celebrated in front of the fans.
I think so, yeah.
That was in like 05-06.
It might have been 05-06. Was it 05-06? It was in that era, and I just remember going.
It was January 2006.
That would make sense, and I remember going, I hate that team. Because I hated that team.
We had Kieran Richardson playing.
They were so hateable.
Your team,
they were so good.
Pepe Reina, Steve Finnan, Sammy Herpia, John Onorisa, Jamie Carragher, Steven Gerrard, Jabi Alonso, Harry Kewell, Jibril Cisse, Peter Crouch, and Mohamed Sissoko.
And now we've upgraded our Mohameds.
Yeah, got Salah.
But I'll say this: that was my worst memory. I hated that.
That was a great memory.
And that was just It probably for you, yeah. And then also, because I also remember, similarly to the way that you probably feel now, I remember thinking, we are on the up. And then you guys scored late and were like, yeah, we're still United. And I was like, I forgot about that. And then...
That was when Chelsea were really good as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And
so
that was when we thought...
Scraps.
Also, I think we were desperate to keep hold of people like Gerrard and people like that. So we all felt a bit desperate, if that makes sense. And
was
then
that
the other
before
memory is...
after the Chelsea move? Must have been just after, right?
I think it would have been after his first attempt. And we were burning. I mean, I didn't burn anything. I'm not mental, but we were burning shirts and stuff. And
here's a question: Are you a booer or are you not a booer? So yesterday at halftime, some United.
Oh, I wouldn't have booed that.
I totally understood why they booed. But I don't boo any players or managers in the ground. Yeah, I'm not doing.
No, I'm not booing. But I'm not booing it like that. I'll boo the opposition, and I'll boo. Will I boo a national anthem?
Oh
no.
Yeah.
It depends on which night. The problem is, it's always upsetting when people don't. The England fans, they can give it, but they can't take it when I boo when I boo the God Save the Queen. If you can give it, you've got to be able to take it. So I should be able to boo whatever I want, mate.
Yeah, boo the
I'll tell you what they don't
Queen.
like at
That's
NFL
good.
games is because they do the national anthem before the NFL game. They do England or Britain, and then they do America. What they don't like is after God Save the Queen, I go, come on, England! And everyone around me goes, what's he doing? What's he doing that for? They don't get I'm doing it ironically. They just think I'm a dickhead. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's good. It's good shit. I hate national anthems at sport, to be honest. I think that should be banned for sure. Anyway.
Which sport, to be honest. You haven't asked me about my best memory. You know what it is already. You know what the best memory of Liverpool for me is.
4-1.
Because every Liverpool fan who's my age, my era, loves that game because we didn't even win it that year, but it was such a good performance, and it was so.
We felt like you were possibly going to win it that year.
Yeah,
I remember one game when Mascherano got sent off as well, and you lost.
He was in a white shirt, and everyone was just like, "What? Why has he been sent off for that?" And I remember being a bit like,
mad, didn't he?
It was 2 yellows as well. It wasn't a straight red. It was 2 yellows, but they were very close together. And everyone was just like, I remember just being like, oh that's Alex Ferguson, that is.
Yeah.
Just being so angry with it. And
isn't that what tipped Rafa over the edge with facts?
I think that definitely contributed to it. And to be honest, like it did feel he probably shouldn't have been sent off in that game. But it was silly. And
I also remember one where Sami Hyypiä got sent off after like 3 minutes and we battered him.
No, but I remember looking at that, and because it's Sami Hyypiä, you think of him as a very solid person, so you go, good decision that. No, you showed him there. Yeah. You have to rep for Sami Hyypiä. Whereas with Mascherano, you just go, what a mental South America. Because people just stereotype when it comes to red cards. So if South American gets sent off, people go, lost his head there, absolutely lost his head. And then if it's someone who's from like Scandinavia, because they're meant to be like reasonable people,
cool.
People go, they go, it's because he if anything, he was too logical. He was too logical. Yeah. No, because he's a cold person. Yeah. And yeah, he's an ice cold killer. And things like that. And or like he's a hard man, isn't he? Yeah, he's hard because he's a Viking. Yeah, he's a Viking. Yeah, cool. Or if Gerrard gets sent off, it's like he did that, but he's a captain, and he led the team. Even one of the stupidest sendings off ever against Ander Herrera. Like that was one of the worst things the worst decision ever.
Another great memory.
I know you're trying to detract.
Yeah.
Honestly, mate, you've had way more good memories against us in our lifetime than we've had against you. Because you've actually won titles in our lifetime. We've won one.
But it feels like Sunday could be difficult.
I've got a good memory, actually. Can I finish on this memory?
Yes. No.
So I know you got to go because you've got really important stuff.
I genuinely have.
We got given tickets to go see Liverpool versus Manchester United in the Europa League in a Manchester United box. And I think, who was I with? Was it with?
I think you were with.
Oh no,
I remember seeing that. Was it
Steve,
with Stephen Tries?
No, that was another one. So that was funny as well because you guys also got knocked out. Was it Sevilla? Sevilla? Seville? Sevo?
C'est la vie.
Seville? C'est la vie. You were playing C'est la vie, which felt the complete opposite of the way United felt at that time. I think it was Sevilla you were playing, right? Or Villarreal or someone like that.
Sevilla.
It was an insert Spanish club here. Anyway, that was one. The other one, it was Liverpool versus Manchester United. We went to Old Trafford. I was in an Adidas box, right? And Coutinho scored, but I remember being so impressed with the United atmosphere, like at Old Trafford. It was incredible. I remember being like, wow, this is intimidating. I go in at half time. You know, in the box, they always have the legend. And he's going around the box and every table. So I had to pretend to be a United fan. And he comes over. I don't know who it was, but he was a nice guy. And he comes over and he's like, yeah, good to see you, lads. Yeah, thanks for coming. I was like, yeah, cool. Yeah, whatever. And then at the same time as him, I wander into the toilet. So I go in first and he wanders into the cubicle next to me. And you're 1-0 down at half time. And he goes, what do you think, son? Can we do it? And I go, nah, I think they're too good this time. And he goes, ooh, well, I do appreciate your realism. And he walks out with me. He goes, this United fan, he's a realist. And everyone in the room goes, yeah. And then
isn't that Lars?
Yeah. And
it's either Clayton Blackmore. You're looking at a Clayton Blackmore. You're looking at a.
He was a really old man at the time, very old.
Oh, maybe Pat Curran.
Someone like that. I think his name might have been Pat something, but he was a lovely guy. But I just couldn't help myself from going, no, we should just give up. Just give up. It was a funny moment.
We shouldn't just give up, and we won't be giving up because we'll be beating.
Thanks for having me
on Sunday. I'll be with Lars on the kickoff, which should be fun. Thank you very much for joining us today, Lars. It's been fun, even though it's been like for us, it's been 9 a.m., which Lars is used to being up at this time, and I'm clearly not. So thank you very much.
Look at my face. I'm clearly awake. I used to be awake this early. You're my favourite Manchester United channel.
Oh yeah, we're the best.
Yeah,
we're
correct.
The best.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lars, love you, bro. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you go and follow Lars everywhere at LarsCast, and of course, he's on the kickoff every week. He's got a YouTube channel. He had a documentary recently with
Jordan,
Nike, and with
Zion
Jordan.
Williams.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So tell them a little bit about that.
We were contacted by Jordan because I pretty much met some of those guys and went, I'd love to make a documentary. And then Saf, who everyone knows, came to us, who works for Nike, and he was just like, yeah, I've got this project. So we made a documentary about Zion Williamson, who released his first signature shoe, which is incredible. Did some stuff about the UK scene, did some stuff about his life. Hopefully we'll make some more documentaries soon. Hopefully it means that Adam and I get to make some documentaries together because I think he's smarter than he looks.
Yeah. Links in the description for that doc as well. And
thank you.
Lars is also working on us doing the Rashford or Ronaldo doc as well, so which is interesting.
Mate, I'd actually love to do a Rashford. Or, you know, I'd love to go to, where was he born? Madeira.
Oh, Ronaldo, Madeira.
Yeah, I'd love to go to Oh mate, I'd love to go there. It's amazing.
That is the best note to leave it. Lars, thank you very much, bro. Love you. See you later.
Cheers, bro.
Peace, people. Bye.